Good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Better Care Forum. I'm Tom Harrell, and tonight's theme is In-Home Supportive Service Programs in Silicon Valley. We are fortunate to have with us two guests tonight. We have Janie Whiteford, In-Home Supportive Services Advisory Committee member and Public Authority Consumer Education Consultant. Welcome, Janie.
Thank you.
And we have Richard Patterson, Clinical Support Coordinator for Persons with Traumatic Brain and Spinal Cord Injuries, Santa Clara Medical Center. Welcome, Rich.
Thank you for having me.
Janie, could you start us off by telling us generally what in-home supportive services are available in Silicon Valley?
We have both public and private sources of home care, both domestic and personal care services available in Santa Clara County. We first have the County In-Home Support Services program, which is for people that qualify for both financial eligibility status and also for needs status. We also have the Public Authority, which is an adjunct to in-home support services, which provides both a registry and training for consumers and providers for in-home support services. The Council on Aging in Santa Clara County has the management services contract for the Public Authority. We also have with the Public Authority and through the auspices of the Council on Aging, a registry that's just starting up now for private pay folks that do not financially qualify for in-home support services but also need the services. This is a brand new program. It's just being fleshed out. It hasn't been introduced to the community as yet, so that this is something that we're really looking forward to. And the advisory committee of the Public Authority has been wanting this service for a long time. Santa Clara County also has numerous private agencies which people can go to get in-home support services folks that will come in and help them with their needs in their own homes. Some of the cities have registries that they maintain through their social services agencies within the cities. Not all of them, a few of them. And then, of course, we also have folks that go out there on their own, advertise for themselves through the newspapers or putting up flyers in various places, and actually, after they advertise, actually interview and hire independently on their own.
Is there any kind of central organization, or perhaps you've mentioned one of them, that coordinates these various sources that people can go to looking for someone to help them out?
Well, we have the Independent Living Center, Silicon Valley Independent Living Center, which also provides a registry of workers. But they have referral sources, of course. The Council on Aging also has an information and referral agency are part of their organization, which can give information too. But there's not just one central place that just does in-home care referrals.
Okay. And Rich, have you found that to be effective in Silicon Valley, or do you think there are further improvements that could be made?
Well, I think there's always room for improvement. But I've been a consumer with IHSS for nearly 25 years. And without the services being provided, I'd be very limited on what and how I could manage my life. So the services that are provided are very much essential for my well-being, my health and my safety. But the other part of that, having in-home supportive services and the providers are a big link to that as well. The better the provider, the better your services are going to be provided, or the better your care is going to be provided, which is going to allow you to have a life, whether you return to school, whether you return to work, whether you do recreational activities, spending time with your family. It's just a real vital component. I don't know what many of us would do without it, aside from going into institutionalized living environments, and that would just be a horrible situation.
Now, how about the training for persons that supply in-home supportive services? Is that something that is the responsibility of the consumer, or is it something that some of the agencies in the valley help out with, or is it a one or the other, or a combination, and how does that work?
Well, in-home support services through the public authority provides training for the IPs, that we call them independent providers. I think lots of times when you hire independently, you do your own training, and all of us, I hire independently and I do my own training, and all of us sort of have our own little game plan as to how we do that, what that looks like for us independently. Even when you do it through agencies and in-home support services, you really do always have to have the opportunity to train on your own and take that as part of the process.
If
No.
you go, I'm sorry.
Well, even I was going to add, to that. I mean, I go through the registry. There's a large number of people that are prepared to work for people with persons with disabilities, and so I go through that registry and I call them, I interview them, and kind of get a sense for what they can do to assist me. And so I may interview 10, 15 people before I find the right match. And I think finding the right match is it's vital.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right connection with that person, it's just gonna it's set up for failure.
Yeah. Well, what is the, is there a lot of turnover among the providers, or is that something that, sort of a personality issue, you find someone you mesh well with, they stay and help for a long time, or I'm sure there are money issues. I was curious what kinds of factors go into that.
There certainly can be a good number of turnovers that take place. I think some of it depends upon the relationship that you have with your IP. It might be that you have a prearranged schedule, that the person can work with you for a year, maybe 2 years. I've been very fortunate. I've had IPs that I have a current one that's been with me for 25 years. I have another one that's been with me for 3 years, and I have a graduate student that has been working with me for just over a year and a half. And I also have my sister working with me as well. And it's a balance. You've got to kind of finesse each one. You're an employer, and all of us know how important it is that the better the employer, the greater your success is going to be with your employees. So,
well, Rich, you brought up an interesting point. You mentioned your sister. Are families, are they allowed to employ other family members as IPs? Okay.
Absolutely. In Santa Clara County, within the in-home support services system, about 70% of our consumers actually hire family members to help with their both domestic and personal care. I think that even on the outside, when they're not eligible for IHSS, you're going to find a very high percentage that hire, if not family members, then probably friends or neighbors, keep it close in the community. And that also has a lot to do with longevity of the relationship.
Sure.
I think that when I hire, I always go out and advertise and hire from the community, but some of my criteria are that folks live close to me so that it eases, they don't have long distance to travel. That makes for a longer relationship for ease of the provider. You try to, when you actually hire somebody, you try to make that match work initially as best as you can, so that you've got a lot of pluses on your side from the get-go. But a lot of it has to do with what kind of an employer you are, and how well you make that match work, how pliable you are to change, and it takes a lot of give and take on both sides, and you have to be very amenable to making that happen, to making that work, that match last over time.
Well, thank you for joining us for this segment of the Better Care Forum. Please stay with us for a further discussion of these important issues. And that was actually getting into some stuff I had like. Welcome back to the Better Care Forum discussion with Janie Whiteford and Richard Patterson. And we've been talking about a lot of things, but especially about caregivers and retention. But one issue I wanted to find out about, just for my own curiosity, is what you do if there's an emergency and your caregiver can't show up, or there's an some kind of unanticipated incident. What happens then?
Well, that's not uncommon. Like in any work environment, people are going to have personal crisis, or they're going to become sick, or just car breaks down. But what we have in Santa Clara County, and I'm sure through other agencies, we have the urgent care, which allows, in my case, to call up on the urgent care and let them know that my worker for that day or that evening is not going to be able to make it, and then they make arrangements for a person to come out and assist me so that I can, get my personal needs met, okay. Which is really proven to be a very valuable program. It's one I think we should all have available. Sure. I've used it probably 10 times in the last year, so okay. Quite grateful it's there.
And Janie, you mentioned you hire privately. Is there, do you have your own backup system you negotiate, or is?
Well, Rich's system is for those people who are eligible and use in-home support services. I hire on my own. I don't go through an agency. So what I've done is make sure that I have a lot of backup folks in the community, either family members who know the care that I require, or friends that I've trained over the years. And I have a whole list of folks that I can start at the top of the list and go down the list and call them when I get in a jam and need some help.
Okay. And I'm curious, are there any, either, there may not be in private hiring, but in terms of IHSS, are there minimum training requirements going into the registry for caregivers, or is it sort of an on-the-job training, or a combination of on-the-job training with some sort of more formal program through the county?
Well, certainly some of the providers have been trained or have been doing in-home care for quite a while. But in my case, I prefer to train them specifically to what my needs might be. And that's not to say that they won't come to the table with their own perceived ideas on how to do something. They would say, well, when I worked for Janie, I have to kind of redirect them and say, well, you know what, I'm not Janie, so let's do it my way. Yeah. And then we try to develop that rapport, and I think the better you can manage that relationship, the much better that quality of work's going to be. I mean, I'll spend the first month, just kind of doing checks and balances just to ensure that everything is going right. I may even send out, a card saying thank you, or a little gift that expresses my appreciation. Anything that you can do to kind of massage that relationship kind of makes it really fluid. And the more fluid it's gonna be, much the better your care is gonna be. And I think that that's a message that people really need to understand, that they're not there just to do your work. They're there to help you with your lifestyle. So respect them in that manner.
Have you ever had a situation where you had someone come in and you realized right away that this was just not going to, personality-wise, this is just not going to be a good match, and had to say sorry, but no thanks?